Pokemon Go tricked me into losing 100 pounds. Like, seriously, I would go around from Pokemon to Pokemon for hours, even though I absolutely hated being outside. But it turns out that this would not be the first time that I'd be tricked by this game. I recently found out that I was being used as part of a massive unpaid labor force for DoorDash and the CIA and the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. I, along with the over 700 million other people who downloaded this game, built the most valuable 3D map of Earth in all of human history. Pokemon Go was never a video game. It was a gamified corporate and military asset. To understand what this game actually is, you have to look at the guy who built it. The founder of Niantic, Hanke, didn't start his career making video games. In 2001, he founded a geospatial data visualization firm called Keyhole. And his early investors weren't gaming publishers. The early investors were the venture capital arm of the CIA. With all this sweet, sweet government money, they made a map of the Earth and they called it
EarthView 3D.
And it looked like this. And this was actually some mind-blowing software at the time. It attracted the attention of the bigwigs, specifically Google. Well, Google bought it up, as they do, so they renamed it to Google Earth. And now families all across the globe could pretend to jump across the planet with animations that make you feel like the Incredible Hulk. This map of the Earth was obviously made with satellites. Satellites are incredible, but they have a massive problem. Blind spots. They look straight down. Yeah, they can't see under things like trees or bridges or into your house. And that sucks for them. They really want that. Anyways, that's when they came up with Street View so that it could help inform their 3D model of the Earth. To achieve Street View, they sent out millions of cars with these giant 360 cameras on top of them so that they could perfectly capture your finely manicured lawn for the world to see. That's cool and all, but you're lacking the pedestrian perspective. I mean, you're only getting images where cars can go, views from the street. Street view. If you want a true 3D map of the Earth, you need to deploy millions and millions of cameras that can go in places where cars can't go. But how do you hire millions and millions of people to just go around and take photos of the entire planet for you? Well, if you're a student of history, then you might know that we have accomplished so much through the millennia with one simple thing: child labor. And what's the best way to convince a bunch of kids and broke college students to be your unpaid cartographic labor force, taking billions of 4K images of everything they see? Well, that's easy. You just slap a Charmander down in the middle of a dark alleyway and tell him to go get it. Sorry, it's my Tennessee coming out a little bit. Won't happen again. I think it's worth explaining how these scans actually work, so I'm gonna go ask someone a little smarter than me to explain it. Hey, how does this work?
You catch the Pokemon. Like that. It turns out that every time you visit a Pokestop, the app is harvesting dense telemetry, precise GPS coordinates, gyroscopic angles, and 3D depth maps. If you're familiar with LLMs, like ChatGPT and other text-based AIs, you probably already know that they work essentially by predicting the next word in a sequence, because they've been trained on so many other words already. So this means that they put together sentences that can help you write an email, a poem if you wanted, maybe a text to send to your ex who cheated on you with a tall jack dude and stole your 2 wiener dogs. Right, bro? That'd be a pretty good use, huh? Anyways, the LGM does the exact same thing, but instead of predicting words, it's using spatial data to predict other spaces. For instance, if it can see the front of a building, it can have a pretty good guess of what the back of the building is going to look like. This is because it's an AI trained on over 50 million neural networks with over 150 trillion parameters, making it, without a doubt, the most valuable spatial database in the world.
Now, if all this environmental telemetry stuff and 150 million trillion parameter things sounds confusing, then let's just think of it like one of those robot vacuums. You buy a robot vacuum because you want clean floors. Simple. But to do its job, this robot vacuum has to bump around your house, freak out your dog, and draw a millimeter accurate digital blueprint of every single room in your entire house. We accept this because the map, in this case, serves us. The vacuum uses these maps to make our lives easier. But imagine if the company that made this robot vacuum took the millimeter accurate blueprint of your entire house, stitched it together with the blueprints of every other house in your neighborhood, the town you're in, the entire world, and then sold that master map to the government for billions and billions of dollars. Well, all this robot vacuum business is just a metaphor to describe what basically has gone on with Pokemon Go in the past few years.
That makes sense to me.
In early 2025, Niantic dropped a bombshell. They sold Pokemon Go to this massive gaming conglomerate called Scopely for $3.5 billion, which is ultimately owned by the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, but we're not gonna get into that right now. If you know anything about Pokemon Go, you know that this game basically prints money for Niantic. Massive revenue. I mean, in 2024 alone, it made over $1 billion. So why in the world would you sell your precious money printing machine?
Why would you do that? Why would you do any of that?
Because that magical money printing machine is a massive walking legal liability.
But why?
Think about it. You're running an app that constantly tracks the locations of millions and millions of people, including kids, and you're tapped into their cameras. I mean, they've even patented the technology using your phone's microphone as echolocation, just like a bat. So they use the sounds from the game to ping out, and then your microphone picks it up, and it can create a map of your room in your house, even in the dark. It's actually super cool technology. I mean, you can check out the patent for yourself if you want. But anyways, my point was, Niantic was getting hammered with lawsuits left and right because of this game. People were even suing them for virtual trespassing because gamers were swarming people's lawns at 2 a.m. for a raid battle, or like because they saw a rare Pokemon or something.
One couple says they've had enough. They're now suing, claiming the app placed Pokestops near private property without the consent of the owners.
The couple says hundreds of people come each day, trampling their flowers, looking in their windows.
And this one is crazy if you didn't hear about it, but in early 2025, they had to pay out a massive class action settlement because they secretly embedded a meta pixel tracker into the game so that they could send all the behavioral data of all the players straight to Mark Zuckerberg. That's right. The big Zuck is in on this too, baby. And by the way, the only reason this was figured out in the first place is because people have constantly been trying to hack into the game's code and to see what exact data is coming out of the game. But every single time that's done, Niantic will put a new patch in so that you can't do that method anymore. So now, if you want to get into it, like, you have to be able to break through essentially government level encryption. Like, there's no chance. So anyways, Niantic realized that Pokemon Go, the game, was a huge liability for them.
In this lawsuit, they're going after some big names. Niantic, the app developer, Nintendo, and the Pokemon Company. They want Pokemon Go to Pokemon stop in their neighborhood.
Yes.
Oh, brother, this girl stinks!
So they pulled off the ultimate magic trick, which was pretty smart actually.
But you know what Silicon Valley companies stink at? Dealing with customer complaints.
They didn't sell their company, they sold their liability. They handed over the video game and all the legal nightmares that come with it to Scopely, but they kept the map, which is why it only sold for $3.5 billion. Should have gone for more. Niantic spun off all that sweet 150 trillion parameter spatial data that we just talked about into a brand new independent company called Niantic Spatial. Niantic Spatial, that's the new company name. Scopely gets to deal with the angry parents and the privacy lawyers, while Niantic Spatial gets to sit back with the most advanced 3D map of the world we've ever seen. And get this is the crazy part. Niantic Spatial made a deal with Scopely so that they can still continue getting all of the data from Pokemon Go even after they've sold it. And now that they don't have to pretend to be a cute video game company anymore, just who are they selling this map to? Well, the military, the government. Niantic Spatial immediately started partnering with major defense contractors. In fact, they're a foundational partner in something called Project Orbion, which is building a digital twin of the Earth to run live battlefield simulations and to track troop movements.
These support real-time battlefield intelligence, target analysis, and in-flight AR training.
They've also partnered with a whole bunch of other military stuff, but I don't want to bore you with all this crap that you'll never remember. All you need to know is that they're using the 3D meshes that we built for them by catching Pikachus and giving them to the government. From my perspective, after learning all this, it kind of feels like a massive betrayal in a way. I mean, I thought I was just getting some fresh air and losing 100 pounds, but apparently I was acting as an unpaid intern building a military-grade surveillance matrix for a Saudi-owned conglomerate and the CIA. But the truth is, this actually isn't even a new story. Humans have been doing this exact same thing for centuries.
Can we watch something else? It's about to get really good. It's about to get really good. Trust me.
Throughout history, maps were basically the ultimate god-tier weapon. Back in the 1500s, Portugal was hoarding this master map called the Padrão Real. I looked that up, I still don't think I'm saying it right. But anyways, it was just a master map showing all the newly discovered coastlines and trade routes. I mean, it was like the literal cheat code to global dominance. Like, the government was so fierce about guarding it that if you try to even look at it or share it without the authorization, they would just straight up execute you. But naturally, some absolute goober of an Italian spy rolls up named Alberto Cantino. Okay, that was probably like better pronunciation than the last. Probably offended someone, I'm guessing. How about this? Alberto Cantino. Is that better? That's probably nice and neutral. Anyways, he rolls up and this guy's entire undercover disguise was to just be a horse trader. Just some pasta-loving dude looking for some sweet, sweet premium ponies. Okay, that one was probably derogatory. You know what? I'm not gonna stop. I'm gonna keep going. And while he's supposedly shopping for some caked up stallions, he finds the guy that actually made the map and he bribes him with this obscene amount of gold so that he can draw him a high-res bootleg copy. Then he smuggled it right out the front door in 1502. I'd like to imagine him just riding off into the sunset on some uncomfortably attractive pony. That's just the Italian way for you. So then they lock it away in some secret vault and then they lost it. Well, some librarian ended up finding it being used as decoration inside of a butcher shop. You know, just some priceless, heavily guarded historical artifact that you'd be killed for even looking at, slapped on the wall next to some salami, just because the butcher couldn't afford wallpaper, I guess. The point is, the most valuable data on Earth used to be 2D maps of coastlines hoarded by kings under the threat of death. Today, it's 3D meshes hoarded by tech companies under the threat of terms of service agreements, which no one can even understand and literally no one has even read, ever, especially children.
Who the hell reads that entire thing every time it pops up? I do.
But technically, they actually push the responsibility of reading those onto the parents. So if you're one of those parents that has read every single terms of service agreement for every single game that your child has ever played, leave a comment because I don't believe you exist. If you do exist, then I'm sorry. I'll reply and sing your praises. How about that? But let's think back to our robot vacuum for a second. Yeah, the example from earlier where your beloved pet robo vacuum is collecting precision level blueprints from every single house in the entire world. And no, this robot vacuum thing isn't a conspiracy or anything. So if I see any of you starting a movement or like creating conferences to go to, just leave me out of it. Anyways, a perfect interior map of a building isn't inherently an evil thing. What if those maps weren't locked in a corporate vault? What if they were an open source tool for first responders? Imagine a firefighter running into a burning, smoke-filled apartment building and their augmented reality visor shows them exactly where the stairs are. There truly are a lot of incredible use cases that this technology could be used for. But currently, the latest thing that's being done with this data is it's being used to make food delivery robots travel streets better. The danger of maps isn't when everyone has them. It's only when a select few do. The satellite revolution of the 90s only made the world better. And the same thing happened when Google Earth made their model free and public to use for anyone on a web browser. And maybe all of this is Niantic Spatial's end goal. I don't know. But in the meantime, at least we can have our food delivery robots get to us easier.
Get out! Those kids are chasing me! Help! Help! I'm gonna rip you apart and consume your insides! Demons! Demons! Enemy! Enemy! Enemy!
But a 3D map of the world shouldn't belong to a defense contractor, and it shouldn't be locked in a vault belonging to Scopely or Niantic Spatial. They were drawn inside our parks, our cities, and our world by us for free. Actually, we paid them so that we could do it. We walked billions of miles for them. They should belong to us.